Hi guys and gals, today we're gonna talk about two great exercises for developing your glutes. All you need is just one resistance band. Now, one of them can be done with a cable machine as well, but preferably if you have a resistance band, it's gonna be better. As discussed before, the resistance band is gonna have more resistance when it's more straight, so because of that, it's better to use this compared to a cable machine. Now, today's topic is gonna be revolving around three muscles: the gluteus maximus, medius, and minimus. All those muscles are in this area and they help you do three things. So first, they help you to extend the leg. So when you bring the leg back, you're using the glute. Second, they help you in external rotation of the leg or external rotation of the hip. So when you push the knee out, you're gonna feel it in the glute. And third, they help you in abducting your leg. So when you bring your leg up, you feel it in the glutes. Again, extension of the leg, you feel it. External rotation of the leg or hip, you feel it. And abduction of the leg, you feel it. Now, I've got a video about one of the best exercises for developing your glute that's gonna target all of them. You can check it out on my YouTube channel. But today we're gonna touch about two other exercises that are gonna challenge your glutes in a different way. Now, the first one is this. I'm just gonna show it first. And the second one is this. Good. Now, for both of these exercises, make sure this is not too much high or low. It should be in a straight line. So a little bit higher and lower is gonna be alright. But this is the thing that both of these exercises have in common. So make sure the band is not too much up or low. Let's start with the first exercise, which was something like this. Now, I'm gonna go through the details. You're gonna separate your legs, so make sure they are not narrow, they're not close to each other. Go wide, and also make sure your toes are not in. So they shouldn't be forward, they shouldn't be all the way to the side as well. Something in between. So if this is 0 degree, if this is 90, 45 is gonna be alright. So you step back, you open up your legs. Also make sure the band is not on your knee. When it's on your knee, it's going to be painful. Just 2 inches above your knee is going to be alright. Not too much up either, because you're not going to feel it that much. And the challenge of this exercise is keeping your knee straight in line with your toes. Because you see, this band is trying to bring my knee in. So it's trying to do this, and I need to push it out, specifically when I'm going down. So when I go down, it's gonna be more stretch, so I need to push it out more. But you've got to understand there's a difference between this and a squat. For a squat, you can come higher and go lower based on your flexibility. But for this exercise, the range of motion is somewhere between here to here. So not too much going down or too much coming up. So here, down, up, down. So this is the range of motion. And again, I am resisting this band from bringing my knee in. So I'm pushing out. As mentioned, one of the responsibilities of the gluteal region, so the gluteal muscle group, was to externally rotate the hip. So when the knee is coming in, so it's caving in, I'm pushing it out. So I'm externally rotating my hip. Now, I'm not overdoing it either. So when my toes are like this, I'm not going too much either. I'm just resisting the band from coming in. So it is still kind of a static hold, but still you're using your glute to just control your knee. So it's gonna be a great exercise for people who have maybe a strength in their glutes but not that much stability. So, and of course, if you go heavy and you just feel that it's not that much challenging, you can add more bands, because a lot of the brands have, I don't know, maybe the heaviest band is, I don't know, 30 kilos or equivalent to something like that. So you can use 2 bands. So don't think that if you just hit the highest number it's gonna be done. No, you can add 2 bands. Just make sure the pain is not that much on the knee. So if you feel the pain in the knee, go a little bit lighter or do something else, because if you do not do this exercise correctly, it can hurt you in your meniscus. Make sure you do that. And aside from that, one of the other things that I see people do is they go too much wide. When you go too much wide and your toes are too much out, there is not going to be that much of an impact from the band on your glutes. So your stability is going to be a little bit more when you go wide, so make sure you do not go that much wide. Another mistake that a lot of people make is they do this exercise like they do a squat. So when they're doing this exercise, they push the knee forward as well. Now, that is true when you're doing a squat, and the reason is you have to push the knee forward so you can push the hip back simultaneously, so you can push the chest forward simultaneously. So the bar is in the middle of your body, so the weight is balanced from the side as well. So the weight should not be just the same from the front. When you see somebody from the side, it should be still in the center of their body. So the center of the mass and the weight should be in the middle, so you have more stability. I've got a video about the squats. I talk a lot about it. So just to be clear about what I just said, the bar should be here. So when you go and do a squat, you shouldn't come forward, you shouldn't go back. For stability, you should just bend the knee, hip, chest. So simultaneously you do this. But this is not what you're gonna do with this. This is the biggest mistake I see people make. When they're trying to do this, even if their stance is alright, so they're not too wide, they're not too narrow, and their toes are alright, they come back and they start to bend their knees and hip. And because this band is pulling you forward, a lot of people come on their toes and they just think that their stability is weak and they're this exercise is hard. But that's not the case. You've got to consider that when you're doing a squat, you've got to bring the weight in the center of your body. But when you're doing this, even if you do not have any weight, when you sit back, because this band is pulling you forward, you're not going to fall back. So you can just easily sit back without putting your knee forward, and even keeping your chest back, come back, and you're not going to fall. Now, if I didn't have a band, I would have fallen by now. But because this band is pulling me forward, there is no problem. So make sure you do that. Do not push the knee forward. So knees out. Try to sit back. Now it's okay if you bring the chest a little bit forward, but if you can bring it back, and it's gonna be a little bit even more challenging. Now, of course, you can use weight as well, but it's better to add more resistance by adding more resistance bands compared to lifting a weight, because the dynamic is gonna be different. If you're gonna target the glute, it's better to do it with more resistance band compared to dumbbells or any kind of weight. Now let's talk about the second exercise, which is a hip thrust basically. But this is different than a hip thrust that people do in a gym by pushing a bar up. You've seen it in the gyms, I suppose. I've seen it many times being performed at the gyms. Specifically, girls do this exercise. So they lay on something, they put a bar in here, and they push it up, down. Now, the glute is a really powerful muscle, but you've got to consider that there are a lot of muscles in that area, especially lower back, that most people do not have that much stability and strength in them. So when you're just lifting something heavy that your glute can do the job, but other muscles are weak, it can be painful and it can cause injuries. And there is nothing for you to do when you're just losing the balance. So if you're doing a hip thrust with a barbell and it's just really hard for you, or you feel pain or whatever, the only choice for you is to just drop down, and that can be harmful. But that's not the same thing with the back. Worst case scenario, if you're just really feeling a lot of pain, you just leave the band and you're gonna be alright. And aside from that, because you're standing up and doing this exercise and you have to balance yourself, your core is gonna be activated a lot more. Also, aside from that, the range of motion on this exercise is better compared to a hip thrust done with a barbell on your hip. Anyway, first I'm gonna again do the exercise, then we're gonna go through the details. So again, because we have a band, when I come forward, I'm not straight up. If I try to stand straight up, it's gonna pull me back. It's just not physically possible. So you come forward and you lean also forward. Because I have a resistance band in my hand, I'm not falling down. So the leg positioning again is gonna be the same as the first exercise. You're gonna grab the resistance, or no, you can use a cable machine as well as mentioned, but with the resistance band, it's gonna be harder as you push forward. So this is a better option. Now, again, this is the degree, a little bit straight, so it's straight or a little bit higher or lower. My arm is gonna be like this and it's gonna go in. So when I come up, I do not bend my elbow. This is just in the same form it was in the beginning of the exercise. So the elbow is not moving at all. If it's hard on your hand, you can just bring a rope and just use a rope instead, so it's gonna be easier for you to perform. And all you need to do is just spread your legs like this first exercise. Go in, go in, go in. So you're bending from the hip and then push. And think of pushing your forearm. So your hand is gonna, your arm is gonna be here, and you push your forearm. So go as forward as you can. To make this exercise more challenging, when you are in a bent position, so your toes are in this position, and you're planning to come up, try to point your toes even more out when you're coming up. So you push, 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 toes out, again, come back, so toes come in the middle, then push, 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 out, again in the middle, push. So you're getting the stretch on your glute when you come down all the way, and you're contracting it to the full capacity as well. The biggest mistake I see people make when doing a hip thrust with a resistance band is they bend their knees too much. So they either bend it too much and start the exercise, or they just move the leg forward and back. Make sure your knee is bent a little bit and hold it. So do not try to keep it straight as well, because it's gonna be uncomfortable and you're not gonna get the best out of it. Just bend it a little bit and go in, push, in, push. Now it's alright if your knee comes a little bit forward and back, just make sure you do not change the degree a lot.